Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the One Step Better Business podcast with Mike and Matt. Hopefully, you all are having a great day because today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite subject. That is cash.
Cash flow, cash money, homie.
Cash money, homie. Getting a handle on your cash is one of the most important things a business owner can do. And without it, you feel completely out of control, lost, and really confused about where things are going. So hopefully we can provide a little bit of traction on helping you get better control of your cash. But before we do that, Matthew Patrick, you are applying for a job.
Okay.
And in that application, you need to submit a resume. So the question is, when submitting that resume, if honesty does not matter at all, what would you put on your resume?
Oh, this is you can be strategic about it. I obviously depend on the job you're applying for. I'd probably go like embellish the stuff I've accomplished as it applies to that job. So, hey, I've turned this company around, or I've blah, blah, blah. You could basically embellish all your job history to match what they're really looking for in the job.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. I mean, it would be something like that. Maybe I was in a senior role one step below that position I'm applying for like their biggest competitor.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing all the trade secret.
Yeah.
But it's got to look like I'm moving up, not down or sideways. Or it would be fun just to put some like, hey, I was on Wheel of Fortune 4 times.
Yeah.
Just to have like an icebreaker, get the conversation.
I've won a lottery 7 times in my life. I've learned how to rig the system or something.
Yeah. Oh, then why are you still working? Well, I really enjoy the work that y'all are doing here. I want to be part of your
make
team.
a big difference on your team.
Yeah.
I can help you win the lottery.
Still have a lot of value to add.
That's right.
I feel like I could take those questions and do well with them. So
it's hard. Yeah. I haven't done a resume in a long time. So I'm like,
yeah.
I haven't had to apply for a job, luckily.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you guys.
I would imagine in today's world, it's very different because I haven't applied for a job in a long time.
I hope not.
And, but like, I bet that you kind of need to do like some playing games with keywords to trick the bots and stuff today.
I wonder if we should run our resumes that we receive through AI filters to see how much of it's written by AI.
I mean, honestly, if I was looking for a job, that's the first thing I would do. Is I would
fix my resume.
Hey, here's the things I've done. Make a really great resume for me.
Yeah.
And I would use that.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Which we said we'd embellish our resumes. What we tell them to do.
Hire us, please.
That's right.
How to finally get a handle. How to finally get a handle on the cash flow in your business. We've talked a couple of times on the podcast previously about, cash in the bank is not the same thing as income or profit.
Yep.
There's a lot of factors that go into that. And yet it's still one of the more confusing issues out there. Like, hey, why is my bank balance, lower than I would expect it to? I feel like I'm having a great year and I don't have any money. And it's all kind of surrounded by cash flow.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, maybe define some terms here. When you think about cash flow, what does that actually mean?
I mean, it's the basic of money in, money out, right? So all the money that comes into your business, all the money that goes out of your business is cash flow. What's left after all the things? This has nothing to do with profit. This is really strictly just money in and what's left over after that, money out. And so I do find this to be probably the most stressful businesses. I find this to be the most stressful thing that impacts most business owners. They don't always correspond money in the bank and also what's coming in anticipation of what's next, or the commitments they're making today, what the impact that's going to have on their result. So like, hey, I went ahead and borrowed this money and I had to go buy these things. That's great. Well, now you got to pay that money back. So you're going to like understanding the flow of that. One of the first things I learned when I was first starting out in accounting, my boss was really adamant. He goes, you have to understand how money comes in and money goes out of every business you work with. And in our world, that's one of the first things we really talk about with our team. And with our clients, and they have to understand the impacts and levers that cash has. How do you accelerate collections? How do you defer payments? What happens, when you need to refinance your debt or whatever that may be? But also, how do you plan for the unexpected? How do you plan for taxes? All those things. And so, we'll talk through that a lot today. But I think it really starts with understanding what systems you need to have in place, and then what are the impacts you probably haven't really thought of always that really can change how cash flow really moves through your business.
Yeah, I think this is a trap that a lot of business owners fall in because this does test your ability to have foresight and
Mhm.
planning and organization. A lot of business owners are, they really are coming from an abundance mindset. If I need more money, I'll just go work harder. I can go get a new deal, or there's always I can find new money, and understanding cash flow is going to test that. Because if my mindset is always I can find more money, that can sometimes come with I don't really need to worry about the money I have. I can spend it however I want because I'll always go get more. And the reality is that will come back to bite you at some point.
One of the things I've done a lot of times and out at home when we start talking through this, our personal cash flow, and it'd be like, ooh, well, if I do this, I could use that money to do this. And then I also could use that same money to do this. Next thing I know, I've spent that money 4 times. Well,
Yeah.
that happens a lot in businesses too, where you're like, well, I know I have this new deal. So if I hire this other employee, that'd be fine. Well, we had to might as well get them a new truck too, because they're going to be, whatever it is. And so, you've committed that same job 5 times around, and you're only going to get to see a little bit left over of that job when it's all said and done after you pay for the labor and everything else you had to buy because of it. And it is something that they don't think they're not playing chess here. They are unfortunately just playing checkers, and they need to think through this in terms of how do I set a system up for the long haul that I know what's left and I know where I have a plan for my money.
I think from a strategic planning standpoint, if you really are thinking through what does the next year, 3 years, 5 years look like, this is really kind of one of the places that you need to start. Is what money is going to be coming in over that time frame? What money really will I have then to kind of budget with, play with? That's going to go out, and then I can start to look at all of the things that cash may be used for. Because it's easy to look at accounting report for like a P&L and that's going to tell you what happened in the rear view, but it's not going to help you project or forecast just based on the sheet of paper itself. And a lot of times your accountant probably isn't providing a real cash flow statement showing you all of the ins and outs, and it's easy to get lost in the things we talked about before. Is like, hey, my sheet of paper tells me that I was profitable and that I don't have any money in the bank.
Yep. The gap between profitability and bank is something that you need to be seeing on a regular basis and understanding where the money went. If you're getting a balance sheet and an income statement every month or a profit and loss every month, that has all the data for you to be able to do this. However, you need to kind of know what pieces to look at. Obviously a statement of cash flows is best, or just honestly, just here's what I think I made. Here's where I know I took the money out of. Here's the debt I had to pay back. Here is what I invested in the future for. Here's the asset I had to go buy that I'm not going to get. That cash is out now, but I haven't gotten the results of that yet. So there's a lot that goes into understanding where your cash goes. And it is one of the things that we often have to explain repetitively, and it's normal. It's a normal process of like, hey, you made $100,000. I see you took out 80 grand for yourself in draws. Oh, by the way, you owe 30 grand in taxes this year. We don't have enough money left in the bank because of that.
Yeah.
And like, but I don't have that much money. I only have 20 grand left in the bank. Or
and then you can start to spiral. Well, I'll just go get a loan to cover that.
Correct.
And then the loan payment's going to come back, and well, that's going to hit next year. So yeah,
correct. It's a never ending cycle.
But on the flip side of that, if you can get in control of this, you really can start to leverage your cash as a super powerful tool.
Correct.
And that's always kind of the fun part is when I have a really clear understanding of where my cash is coming in, where it's going out, and I have the discipline to manage that really well as an owner, then I start to kind of grow a superpower.
Correct. And, I'm going to be fully transparent here. In my beginning of a business owner, it's very easy to overcommit. And it's hard to predict. So when those things are happening and you're missing both sides of that equation, that it is easy for your cash to get a little upside down. And so, one of the things I had to do was set up a system that I could run and maintain and feel confident in that I know what I have to spend and what I don't have to spend, and the commitments I have and I make and the budgeting I've done are all based off that system. That really helps create that clarity I needed.
Yeah.
It was something, because your business is growing and you need to hire some people. And this is the question that can happen. I need to hire somebody, or I need to go buy this thing. Can I afford it? I'm like, well, you might be able to afford it. Can you cash flow it? And those aren't necessarily the same things. And so we have to talk through that system with them repeatedly.
Yeah. And one of the things that we do with creating that system is really the first thing is going to identify the buckets that we're going to put cash in.
Yep.
And so as you think about those buckets, where are you starting from? I think about like my tax bucket or whatever it may be. What are the buckets that you really are trying to create?
Yeah, we're a profit first firm. I mean, so we're going to start with the kind of the basics of profit first here, and it's going to be, the first thing is I want all the income that we got coming in going into one spot, and then I want to distribute that with purpose. And so, in my mind, the next thing I want to do is make sure I have an estimate for my profit. I want to make sure that at the end of the day, what's left after profit is what I have to spend. Like, so that I'm working backwards. My profit's not what's left over. I want profit to be intentional. Second one I want to do is my taxes. I want to make sure I have my reserve set aside for my taxes, so that I know that I don't have to worry about that step. And then as an owner, I want to make sure I have a good understanding what I need to take home. And that lets me know very clearly what I have to operate my business under. So those 5 accounts, right? Income, profit, tax, owner comp, operating expenses. That's my 5. And operating expenses for me is what I have to spend and live on. There's obviously other things I need to reserve for from time to time. We're in the process of building a new building right now. And as part of that, I had to put money aside to reserve for the inevitable and me having to spend that cash. If I know I'm going to have a major purchase in the future or a new capital expenditure, or I need to plan on remodeling a space or whatever that thing may be, marketing project, I need to start having a plan of how I'm going to pay for that. And I can, if I have enough cash in operations, do that. But if I know I'm going to need more than that, this is no different than saving for your vacation fund.
Yeah.
But at home, it allows me to have purpose for all those dollars. And if I know like, hey, my operating expenses is just not enough for me to operate, well, then maybe I'll have to start looking at the other things, like my owner's pay has to come down, or my tax reserve would have to come down, or my profitability number may have to come down. But I have to have a plan for that. I want to work backwards. I don't want to work forwards. And it's very common. You're going to lose some profit when you're doing those things in the short term, but you still have to have a long-term view of that. And so we try to think this out in terms of, 8 to 12 quarters at a time of what that cash flow is going to need to look like for us to get to where we need to be. And that allows us to put the money in the bank the way we want.
Yeah. And there's some seasonality to that because
in our world there is, we have, seasons of cash of, like tax season's one where we have more income. And then at end of year, we have a tendency to maybe a little deficient of cash. And so I have the percentage based management of that helps me.
Yeah. And with that seasonality, there's also some kind of fixed things. Like I know that I will always be saving for some project.
Correct.
What that project may be, I'm not entirely sure of. So I can plan some fixed. I'm going to throw some money over here for some, like you mentioned, like a capital expenditure. Like I know that if I'm heavy in like a lawn care business, I know that I'm going to constantly need equipment. I'm constantly going to need trucks, whatever it is.
Yep.
I'm going to always have money going over here for that. I'm going to buy a truck every year or every 4 years, whatever it is. So like there's some fixed things that you can plan for there. But then there's the, hey, you know what? I have an opportunity that may come up in 18 months and I want to be prepared for it. Like you mentioned the vacation stuff and the personal budget. I know that I am going to go on a vacation next spring break. I need money for that. Right. And so I'm going to start to save for that ahead of time so that, come March, I'm ready.
Yep.
Otherwise, might not be able to go.
We're not going to be as much of a fun vacation if we can't have the cash.
Vacation's going to be in my backyard in a tent.
We're going to enjoy the tent in my backyard. Correct. And that I think as business owners, I know, a lot of times the owners that we talk to, they feel like there's an entitlement sometimes to what they're bringing home, or, well, I didn't really take that out as a salary. I took that out to pay for blah, blah, blah. Well, that's all coming out of normal cash. And so we often have to educate them on like, anything that's coming out of that business for whatever purposes are is the money still coming out. So if you want to have the money left in the business to do what you want to do with, be it an acquisition, be it, an expansion, you have to buy some inventory, you have an air conditioner in your office goes out, whatever may be the case, at some point you're going to pay for those things.
Yeah. And that's a math equation.
That's a math
It does
equation.
not depend on your feelings.
Correct. And so creating those reserves are important. And then, as your businesses grow and you have a plan, you're going to eventually try to squeeze. Okay, how do I find 1% of our total income that I can reduce my operating expenses by, which means I get 1% more in my profit account? That's the goal, right? And how do I drive profitability would be how do we make decisions with a smaller plate? Like, if you think about when you're eating, this is a very common philosophy inside of Profit First, but it's like you want to work off of small plates because you're only going to eat what's on your plate. You're not going to eat all the plates. And so it's similar logic when you're talking about cash flow management.
So as we're at the end of the year right now, kind of sliding into home of fourth quarter.
Yep.
And maybe starting to look towards next year. What are some kind of quick wins, tangible things that we could take away as we're looking to wrap up the year to get better footing?
We said the first thing we always think about is the income account, right? There's two ways to improve how fast income hits your bank account. Obviously, you can sell more, but in order to do that, you have to collect more and you have to collect it faster. So, are your billing practices consistent? Are you invoicing on time? Are you collecting your money in a systematized way, in an organized way? How do you shrink the number of days between invoice and collections, be it in your new jobs that you're selling and that you getting paid upon signing the agreement, or hey, it's net 10 or whatever, or you have automated collection practices to get the money in faster? Or is it just really creating the systems to actually be invoicing at the moment of a job is completed if you're in the landscaping business? A lot of times, get a landscaper and we'll find out like, yeah, we normally sometimes will invoice the first. When we start a job, we'll ask for a third and then we'll do another one at the end and we'll collect the end. Well, we invoice that and we might get it in a month from now. I'm like, so what if you said, hey, I want half up front and half upon the last day and it's going to be drafted? Well, now I don't have to wait 30 days. So I'm accelerating the time I get cash. That's number one. So anything I can do to accelerate my collections, shrink the time between invoice and collections, the better. The more predictable your revenue is, going to be easier for you to predict what income you're going to have, but also you don't have to worry about the bureaucracy or the inefficiencies of having to call and collect and send out reminders and send out statements. That the more you shrink that, the better. So that's always a quick way. If you can evaluate your billing practices and how you collect money, that's going to be able to shrink that. That's one thing I would always start with. Likewise, the other quick win cash flow in my mind is actually understanding where the cash is going. One of the first things we see is, and when we bring on a new client that's going to do Prop First with us, it's okay. We need to go and evaluate your GL, and we see like you have this many recurring subscriptions, or you have duplicate software that does the same thing, or you have you don't have any money set aside for tax. So we have to start that. Where is the actual money going? Do we have a clear picture? And from there, we can start having an action plan for each of those plates, as we were those 5 accounts. Once we know, that, hey, we need to put a tax reserve in place. Let's just do 1% of sales. That's going to be at least a starting point for us. All right, well, great. Now we know every time we get $100 in, we're going to put $1 in to the tax account. And that's just the easy first steps I have to do is I need to create the rhythm for creating profit and tax so I can have a jumping off point, but also I need to know where all the cash is actually going.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's like, I kind of know, I'm not exactly sure. I want to walk them through the difference between profitability and money out of the bank.
Yeah. And without that system, it's really, you're creating a little bit more of a challenge for yourself
Correct.
than you really need to. Very good. I do think this is one of the most important things that a business owner can really get their hands on and figure out. If you can get this straightened out and working for you, then it will solve a lot of issues with inside of your company. And so we strongly encourage you. I mean, go read the book. Profit First is the name of it. It is one of the systems that you can use. But the principles that book talks about are I mean, quite frankly, they're a little bit more common sense and basic, but it's the difficulty of actually implementing it
Yep.
and doing the things and having the discipline as an owner to actually tell your money where it's going to go. But I promise you, it will make a world of difference. And so make sure, if you like this episode, make sure that you click subscribe, share it with your friends, like us, give us all the feedback. We love that kind of stuff. And we'll catch you next time on the One Step Better Business podcast. See you.